Dip my shrimp.
Much for
Two
joining
types of
for
empanadas that are
tasting
really
time.
traditional.
Hi, I'm Katie O'Reilly, and welcome to KDO's Food Carnival. This is my fabulous, exciting episode called Art Bites. Now, what I am standing amongst is some original art of the John David Mooney Foundation. John David Mooney is a current contemporary modern artist. So often, we do not know what these artists are about, where their life story took them, brought them, the significance of their art, and we are going to talk to John David Mooney himself about his path, because this man is not a starving artist, as we all hear about. He is a successful, thriving artist, and he does so much great work to bring art to our community. Like John David Mooney, you're going to see some creative, spiritual foundation in how I create food. So in the tips and the tasting time, you're going to experience the unique elements that thrive and drive my own natural creations. I hope you're going to enjoy that aspect. But the art itself, I want to give you a little history on why John David Mooney is so fascinating. My history is that I worked at the Art Institute of Chicago, the museum, housing so many of the masters, impressionists, and classical artists that we all have grown to love and appreciate. I was there for over 4 years in special events, but I had the unique opportunity to speak to the people about what it is that they have questions about and their intrigue with art. But it's very easy to offer that when there is a history, a start and a finish, and a placement of these artists within our caliber to understand. And also, great geniuses have done a lot of research and placed the significance on their art for us to read and then appreciate. Now, how does that play into modern and current art? So many people cannot quite grasp where this plays a role in our world. Why is art significant to us today? When there's so many people starving and there's problems in the world, why art? And what if your child says to you, I want to go to art school? Well, today we're going to talk to John David Mooney about his firsthand experience on why it's so significant. We're going to have a beautiful conversation, and I'm going to ask some of those questions that I know you might need answers to. They might be a little challenging, and we're going to walk through a path, but hopefully you'll walk away from this episode knowing a little bit more and wanting to explore it. Some of you may not live in a big city or a university town where art happens to be highlighted. I encourage you to travel. When you travel, seek out art, go online, and explore it. There's books, there's a lot of different ways that art is offered in our world. And it offers a visual representation of beauty, sometimes even when you're just having a bad day. When I get to the food, I know you can't taste it, but you're going to taste it with us, because you're going to experience a group of ladies who support the art community and are here to enjoy my food after having experienced John David Mooney's art. So it's going to be a fabulous, fabulous episode. I am so excited to take you with me to meet John David Mooney. Well, here I am, as promised, with John David Mooney. Welcome, John. Actually, thank you for welcoming us.
Well, we're glad to have you here in the spaces and in our studios.
So exciting, but okay, everybody's got to be wondering, what are we sitting in?
You're sitting in chairs, not your ordinary chairs, but rather tall ones that can go inside, like where we are now, or outside.
And these are your creations?
They are.
So cool. I want to own these. If they ever end up missing from the gallery, they'll be in my home, right? I love these. These are great. So much drama. You are an amazingly accomplished artist. in a current state. So I'm assuming we can categorize you both into contemporary art and modern art. Now, can you talk to us about where you are and where are you right now in your kind of just like a little bio?
Well, you know, I'm at a point that I probably was when I was 4 years old.
That's the best way to be. We all go back.
I take the pleasure in making and discovering. And if I can keep that spirit now, with all of the trials and tribulations and learning processes that have happened in my life through art, then it's fresh. There's only one audience I want. That's the children. 'Cause that's from where we start.
Oh my God, that is so beautiful, because honestly, that is the purest place of foundation for, I think, all of us. Our memories kind of start then, but we remember our true innocence before life kind of takes control of us. So if we can get ourselves back there, that's a great, beautiful place to start. And no wonder your art is so beautiful. Now you have light art, like illuminated art, and then you have mostly that you work, your medium is mostly metals. Is that correct? Or I don't want to...
No, I'll actually work in any material.
Okay.
The material that's proper for the project and the space of where this art is going to be placed.
Now you have some significant projects and pieces in many, many countries. Talk to us about, now I know a little bit, but I want to hear it from you. A lot of these pieces are then set outside. So they're things that people walk by on a regular basis and get to experience. Talk to us about your process with that, and maybe one of your favorite pieces or the one you're most attached to.
Well, the process of making a very, very large scale piece, say the one we did in Zagreb, Croatia, a quarter of a mile long.
Wow.
Or in Indianapolis, which was a mile long.
Okay, so is this made, you're going to have to describe it in a little bit more detail, and we'll get a shot of this, but okay, is it made out of metal, a mile long?
It is, in this case, it's made out of aluminum.
Oh my goodness.
And automobile lights.
Oh, how cool.
That's the one in Zagreb.
Fantastic.
But you can't make a mile-long sculpture or a quarter-mile-long sculpture by yourself.
No, you really can't.
I can do those drawings alone in my studio.
Right.
And develop that whole process, what this is going to be. But it takes many. It's just to support you and to make the work.
That is so important. You know, when I create food, it's the same way. You know, I create it oftentimes from the same spiritual place you would create for somebody, but I need a team to produce it for me who can see my vision and live it through. That is so important with any form of art or creativity, is that you have to be able to trust others to see your vision and share it and communicate it properly. That's a real gift in and of itself.
And you know, we don't acknowledge that, even in the paintings, even in the great masters' paintings. Yes, they painted on them, they did the cartoon, they did the outline, but these are large paintings. Maybe
so many people don't know that.
Floor to ceiling, and it takes several people who are also painting with the master.
Yeah, that quiet little no-named person who's extremely talented and thrilled to be there as a part of it oftentimes. So you're also enriching the spirit of the people who can physically create too. So it takes all talents to go into such beautiful works, and that's fabulous. That is really fabulous. I know that there's so many people out there that really don't have a grasp on why art is important in our current society. Can you put that into words for us?
Well,
I know that's a big concept, but...
You put it best. Art bites.
Yeah.
Art is food.
Yeah.
It feeds you.
Yes.
You need it for support. You need to be able to experience maybe something is questioning, that you say, what is this? You look at it a little bit longer and you begin to find other things, and you begin to say, hey, now I see something I never saw before. That's fulfilling. And when that something becomes beauty, it becomes to lift you up out of the place that you are, it's sustaining. And so art sustains, just as food does.
It really does. That's so beautiful and so important, because I remember there were days where I worked at the Art Institute in the museum, and you know, in special events you can get pretty intense at times, so you don't know where your energies are coming from. And in order to escape, there was one piece in particular, and it was a relief, ancient medieval sculpture that just, it was a Buddhist kind of just peaceful. I would walk into this gallery if I was in a really tough place and just kind of just enjoy it and breathe it in. And that was such a gift. And this was hundreds and hundreds of years ago that this was created, and it's still giving to me in that moment. I think that art is so significant in our world. And I love the way you put it. It feeds us. And it allows us to go to that creative place that we are free, essentially, in our souls and in our spirits. And I think that's essential. One of the things I think that so many people don't understand about contemporary and modern art is that there's a foundation. Now, I'm going to set an example for you. Picasso, for example, is a great artist that people recognize as a past artist that has been recognized for his achievements. But what people see in Picasso oftentimes is his Cubist stage. Mm-hmm. However, in Barcelona, when I lived there, there's a small little museum, and there's a little piece, and it's a drawing of a bird from when he was 4. He had extreme talent even at that age. There is a foundation of talent that goes into being a successful and revered modern contemporary artist. Can you describe your learning process or anything that would speak to the people about what is that foundation?
Well, speaking of Picasso, and what you observed is absolutely right. I just returned from Barcelona.
Oh, love Barcelona.
And so they celebrate Picasso because this is where he began.
Yeah.
And his first show was in a bar or a cafe.
Usually a bar. Picasso.
Which is a cafe, which is a bar, which serves food.
Right.
Which
the
is
Four Cats.
Which is a meeting place. And there had already been art on the walls. Mm-hmm. Good art. And below that good art, Picasso had his first exhibit. And they still have the documentation where all the artists come to meet. And so he did learn how to play and to make art in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And so that is not dissimilar, I don't think, from me or from any other artist. You come into the joy of discovery at whatever level, at whatever point you come to art.
Now, the beautiful thing is that you do have an amazing education. Now, you graduated from the University of Notre Dame, correct? Mm-hmm. And since then, you have had exposure and experiences. Can you talk to us a little bit about your path that built your foundation as an artist and your talents?
Well,
what did you study at Notre Dame?
Well, first of all, I went to Notre Dame to study under one man.
Oh.
Just not to go to the Green Lily Pad in South Bend, but to study under one artist. And that was Ivan Mestrovich, the great sculptor who was in residence there.
Wow, that's fabulous.
And so this was the whole purpose of it. I also taught, and in fact began teaching in Florence shortly after.
I love Florence, another great city.
Shortly after graduation. My students were all older than I was.
Oh, that's fun.
And I was a baby artist.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
But I passionately loved my students and realized that they are the future. They're totally the future. And I continue to do that now here. Sometimes working 10 to 12 hours a day with our interns and apprentices who are the best of the best from around the world. They come from all corners of the world.
What a wonderful opportunity. What a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, and they've come well educated to begin with. They come with their master's degrees or their terminal degrees if it's a PhD, whatever that is. And we study of how we can fill the voids that we find in the world and fill them with art.
Now, the foundation here that we're sitting in is your finished, completed works. Do you have a studio that's a working studio that you have nearby that you do most of your work in, or are you mostly on location creating?
No, that's a good question. Mm-hmm. This very space where you see some of these sculptures.
Right.
the other half of this space, equal to this, is a studio.
Okay, great.
And then we also have worked on other aspects in other parts of the building. So
Fabulous.
Drawing and model making and mechanical making.
And you have a complete connection to other artists as well. You love to represent other artists that you have a passion for, and you showcase their work at different times.
We do. The foundation has a very long history, goes back to 1980, of showing the best international artists. We only show international artists.
Oh, interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah, and the charter says that.
Okay.
But the best of the best, who are cutting edge, who come here and challenge us. They challenge us with their art. There is an exhibit of most beautiful exhibit of prints, large-scale prints, made by 4 artists, 2 from Scotland and 2 from Japan.
Wow.
And so we just had a full week celebration of the opening of this exhibit with the 2 Scottish artists. Later, this month, the 2 Japanese artists will be coming. Wow,
how fabulous. That is really wonderful because it represents cultures that oftentimes we need brought to us, because if you don't have time to go traveling to Japan on a regular basis, but you still want to feel the spirit and the energy of the art and the creation there and the beauty. Art being brought into our country is so amazing, and then to have the artists still alive to stand there and talk to you about their work if they're available is such an amazing opportunity. I tell anybody out there, if you can actually meet an artist and speak with them, when you've already experienced their work, you're going to get so much more. And that's, I think, one of the highlights of being, the privilege of being in the modern art community, is that the artists are actually still alive, so you can ask those questions to the person of what did inspire you in this way? And that's so important when appreciating the depth in a piece of work that I think is just, it's priceless. So that's so wonderful. This has been such an amazing experience. I know you're taking the women through. We're going to go to tasting time with our ladies that represent the Museum of Contemporary Art, and we'll showcase some food. We all love to eat, so we'll be designing. So tasting time's up next after the tips. There's a lot more to art than just the visuals. And what I want to present today to you is one of the artful aspects of my creations and where my inspiration comes from. And one of the most beautiful fruits, believe it or not, on the planet is the tomato. Whether you think you like it or not, it comes in so many different forms and it can be transformed into so many things. One time at a tasting recently, I was asked, what's the one vegetable or fruit that you could not live without? And my answer was clearly the tomato, because it just really, it can be infused into so many things, and it can be a dish all on its own. Now what I have before you is a trio of tomato soups, and here's where the art comes in. This is so cool. Tomatoes come in different colors, at different times of the year, and in different sizes. Okay, what we do is at this time of year or at any time of year, actually in the fall, let's say you have a beautiful tomato garden and there's an early frost and you're left with dead vines, but you've got gorgeous green tomatoes. What do you do with those green tomatoes? Well, you could fry them if you're just making something for your friends. Or what you could do is if you are having a party and you wanted to create something, you make a green tomato soup. Now this is a play off fried green tomatoes because it's really close to impossible to serve and pass a fried green tomato at a party and not to fry them on the spot. So this takes tomatoes, blends them down, and then the fry element comes in because we garnish it with a little of that cornmeal crispy crust and then a Cajun remoulade dolloped on top. This is a warm soup. I'm serving it right now in a mug, which is so fun, a footed coffee mug used for soup at a party. So casual, so fun. This is an amazing bite. Now, because you can't taste it with me, I have to describe it. There's a tanginess when you blend and cook down the tomatoes that most people would never know existed in a gorgeous green tomato. Because if you just cut into it and took a slice, your palate wouldn't pick up a lot of elements of it. So when you cook it down, it's beautiful. It's vegetarian. It can also be vegan if you don't do the Cajun remoulade on somebody's. And it's gluten-free. All those things that we think of when we have guests with any kind of allergy or restrictions, it's nice to know that soup fits the bill. Now let's move on. Let's say we have a lot of colorful tomatoes. We have our yellow tomatoes, we have our red tomatoes, we have our cherry tomatoes, and we're kind of done eating that tomato salad. What's an amazing thing? Bring me right to the coast in Spain. This is a chilled tomato gazpacho. So wonderful. This is usually a combination, and now once again I'm going to tell you there's a million recipes out there, but what I like to use is a little cucumber and peppers and then lots and lots of tomatoes. And the real beauty is that if you drizzle a little olive oil, Spanish olive oil if you have a preference for that region, which it is from that region, then what we do is we drizzle a little bit on top right before service. You can do a little of your sea salt if you want for just a little bit of extra palate saltiness to bring out that liveliness without infusing too much sodium into the soup itself. This is served chilled. Now what you really want to do is let it settle after you make it and chill it maybe 12, 24 hours if you have the time. That's my recommendation. Once again, I'm showing it to you in the footed mug. So cute, so friendly, so fun. I've garnished it with some colorful tomatoes, just diced up. That is so delicious. I feel like I'm in Marbella eating my gazpacho and I'm feeling the sunshine. It's fabulous. So the tomato is really communicating that to me, which is fabulous. You feel the sun through the tomato. Really cute. Our third tomato. This is when you have your beautiful red Italian type tomatoes, plum tomatoes. You've made so much pasta, you don't know what to do with yourself. Your garden's growing, growing, growing. Here you go. You can mix any of these types of red tomatoes in with this soup. And now this is a roasted tomato soup. Beautiful. Take your tomatoes, you roast them in a low heat oven for a little while to just release some of that water. Then you take them and you blend them. If you want to, you can skin them, but usually if you have a nice high quality Vitamix or something, that skin's gonna just dissipate anyway. But then you cook it down. So you do heat this soup. This is a warm soup, so you're going to see a big difference in these three soups. Two are warm, one is cold, one's green and tangy, and the other is rich and tomatoey and Italian flavored. I have a basil cream on top, so I just take that fresh basil, mix it with a little sour cream, and drizzle it so it's gorgeous. Beautiful. Italy, right here. Now, I don't care what you think. Tomato soup is still comfort food. What we want to do also, though, is let me just suggest a couple of maybe like side accoutrements. You could do a grilled garlic bread. You have some bread, you garlic it, you put it on your grill. Beautiful, crusty. That's a crouton dip. Adds a little heartiness and comfort level. And we also have our beautiful Frico crisp, which I always am a fan of. This is your Parmesan, melted down a shredded Parmesan on either a greased cookie sheet or a Silpat. And this is just what they look like when they just cook flat. It dips into any one of these soups, but I'm once again, because it's Parmesan, gonna go for the Italian roasted tomato. Crispy, sharpness from the cheese, fabulous garnish. Everybody loves them. So this is the art of food, truly. The art of the tomato. Thanks for this time together. Welcome to our tasting time of Art Bites. This is the most exciting time because we actually get to sit down and experience the food together. And what I have encouraged everybody to do is bring any kind of conversation or memories that some of the flavor profiles that I've already introduced in the trio of soups evoke in you. So if there's any creative process or memory or travel experience, food always makes us travel. That's what's so fun. It's when we taste something, especially like the gazpacho. I've mentioned that I've spent some time in Spain. Well, the gazpacho brings us right there.
I'm going to start with the gazpacho because
Great.
it's one of my favorite methods.
Okay, well,
So I'll start with that.
we'll take a little taste. And the nice thing is it's in a mug, so if you want to pick it up,
Yeah.
feel free. This is a great way to serve soup.
Delicious. I would not have thought of this, and I like this.
I do too, especially if you're walking around at a party.
You know, another way that I've served gazpacho, but not, of course, a triad of soups, is in little dimitas.
I love those. If you want to, especially if you're having a group, you can walk.
Party with
Being an artist who owns a gallery, that is always so important because you have to make sure people can hold their glass of wine and still eat their food. That's something that I think about all the time.
Once we were having 60 people over
Right.
for a champagne reception and new art that was being presented. And I went to Alessi and I emptied the store of the gorgeous little cups, 60 dimitas.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And we made the gazpacho from scratch.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
the
it was
best.
like-
I know, you're making so much, you're like, what? I know, I make it pretty
But I
regularly.
don't think ours equal this at all. This is just.
Thank you, thank you. I always like to top the gazpacho with a little Spanish olive oil because if you mix it in too much, then it becomes it gets lost and then it's just too greasy because you want the vegetables to be pure. But if you just drizzle it right on top before you're about to serve it, also sometimes a little salt, because whenever you're making soup, it'll just keep sucking up that salt. So what you want to do is just put it on the top for the palate.
Oh, interesting.
Dorothy over here, being my mother, this is Dorothy O'Reilly, my mother. She eats my gazpacho on a regular basis,
Yes.
so yes.
Not as regular as I'd like, but
Well, it depends on how the garden's growing.
I know. It's great. I love it.
Okay, so I'm dying for you to try the fried green tomato soup, and that is the most unique.
No, that's what I wait for, just as fried green tomatoes.
I know.
I can
I know.
hardly wait
Yeah.
to get those. And not everybody has them in their gardens.
No, I know, but this time of year, my garden's showing that it's probably going to frost before all my tomatoes get red, which is a great thing to do with the green tomatoes. Is just slice them up and fry them up.
Okay.
Yeah, the green tomato soup is very good.
And it captures everything that you'd want in that tomato.
It just kind of fills your mouth. Okay.
Yeah.
A velvety.
Yeah.
And they go from the chilled gazpacho to this warm.
Isn't it crazy that this is the same fruit? First of all, that a tomato is a fruit is something to acknowledge because it tastes so savory, but it's the same thing. And you can create it and view it so many different ways. Oh, great. I was asked one time, what fruit or vegetable could you not live without? And honestly, it was tomatoes for me because pasta sauces and you can work it in and it can be an acid and it can be sweetened and it can be all kinds of fun things and it can be pizza. I mean, all these things that we represent, I'm like, I don't think I could live without tomatoes.
I have two fruits I can't live.
Okay.
The other is lemon.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot live.
Lemon.
Oh, lemon.
That's
I'm
a great
total
one.
lemon person. I used to have
buy
lemon
them
with everything
bags
else.
like
I
this.
love lemon.
Yeah.
And
For
and
everything.
they're gone. In 2 weeks, I'm
Yeah.
buying another
Oh,
bag.
yeah. I love lemon.
Yeah, I always have to have lemons and limes always at my house.
I put, like the Florentines, I put lemon on steaks.
Yeah. Chicken, anything.
Absolutely. I love lemon.
Believe it or not, pork, you think about these things pork Milanese or something. Well, squeeze a little lemon on your pork cutlet if you're ever, I make a lot of pork at home where it's breaded for the kids. Squeeze a little lemon and it adds that German twist or that Italian twist and it takes you to a whole nother flavor profile.
Last night I had a pork tenderloin.
Lemonade.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am. I'm like, this is delicious.
I mean, I had it there because there was asparagus too. But
Right, yeah. But you're like, oh, this would taste good.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining for Art Bites Tasting Time. This has been a fabulous experience. We've all enjoyed the trio of soups. I hope you have too. And we look forward to seeing you next episode.